And welcome back, guys, Adventure Racing friends. I'm Heidi Miller for Adventure Racing World Series. And today I'm chatting with Mr. Jason Magness, all the way from Bend, Oregon. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's a nice sunny day here.
Oh, wonderful. So to all our adventure racing friends out there, this man, you might better know him as a team captain of Team Yoga Slackers in America, the US. He's been racing for longer than 15 years. And for the last 3 years, he decided to spice up a little bit his life and turn into a race director. And we are here today to hear more about the Oregon race in the US. So yes, let's go straight into it, Jason.
It's great to be here.
I think let's first share with our friends a little bit of your history and your background. I mean, we had a chat, and 15 years of loving adventure racing. Please tell me, where did it all start?
Yeah, as an athlete, I started as a expedition rock climber, and then also got into marathons and like triathlons and Ironman distance stuff. And they were very separate. Like there was the endurance side of things with the racing, and then the climbing and the adventure. I think like a lot of people, I saw Eco Challenge on TV a long time ago, and I remember sitting there with my twin brother watching it, and my father watching it in the living room with us, saying, "Hey, you guys should do that. You'd be really good at that. Like, look at all those people complaining about how hard it is on the TV." And so a couple years later, I had an opportunity to try what they called an off-road triathlon, but it was really an adventure race. And my team, it was a 12-hour race, and my team finished in 16 hours. So we were 4 hours after the cutoff, but we still got third place. It was like, it ended up being a really hard race, and we got lost. And I was hooked. I never went back to like any sort of more traditional form of racing. And I think the teamwork aspect and just the choosing your own path and the true adventure of it, and since then it's been basically my mission and to find the craziest races out there and the furthest, and use it to explore the world. And it's been amazing. So I think that first race was back in 2004. So it's been a while.
Wow, but that is awesome. If you've touched now on the certain things I've heard there, and it's like explore the world, traveling to crazy places, you combine this whole thing about what adventure racing is all about. You touched on the teamwork thing, which is, we all know, such a big, one of the biggest aspects. Team Yoga Slackers, I think, like you said, your highest ranking you had at some point in the world was 7th place.
Yeah.
And obviously it's still your passion to keep on racing. And I know we can't say what happened, but you can please tell our viewers at home that you guys were, obviously, your dream came true, and you were part of Eco Challenge. And I'm sure they're going to release the footage soon, but how was that after so many years of dreaming to be part of that whole production? If you can just tell us, how was the whole experience for you?
Right. It was pretty amazing to be able to go back and be a part of Eco Challenge and race kind of with that culture. And I can't really say what happened, but you can watch it on TV, and there are some stories that we were involved in that will probably be covered. So that are worth watching. And to me, it was a big dream to be involved in Eco Challenge, and it did not disappoint. We'll just say that. But it also made me realize how robust and amazing the expedition adventure racing scene has become. There's definitely a huge lull right when I got interested in it. Like there weren't that many races. I got to do the Primal Quest before it got canceled, and a couple big ones. And then it's been really amazing to see the quality of these huge races go back. And I've been lucky enough to compete in a couple world championships and the Patagonia expedition race, and just, the Godzone races in New Zealand. And it's really neat to see how, like, Eco Challenge was amazing, but, and there's and I hope to do it again, but
Yeah.
it's also very exciting to me that there's so many opportunities for somebody like me to keep finding passionate places to race.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's wonderful. So we'll definitely watch that. So guys, remember to tune in and make sure to follow Jason and his team in Eco Challenge, which I believe will be amazing. I think most of us, who were part of adventure racing for so many years back, or like you said, you were sitting and watching it with your family.
yeah,
The same, for us, it's like, it was all over, and that was sort of our first glimpse of, like you say, what is adventure racing and what it is, and we fell in love with it.
yeah,
I think especially people with this kind of spirit, like our seek to all these adventures, and it just made it possible for us to start dreaming of it. And it's also wonderful to see how these races, all the races in the ARWS series and all the races in the world, has given teams and people the opportunity to go and travel and explore that feeling. Jason, you mentioned Patagonia race, and I really, really would like to mention this to our friends who is listening today. And they need to go to your page, and they have to go, if they haven't seen this movie. Jason, they've made a movie with a cameraman, Scott, and filming them when they were raced in Patagonia about the journey. It's quite a private story about their personal journey, and his wife, mainly our main character in this real story movie, Chelsea, and how she raced. And the movie's called With Spirit, and how she sort of consoled her heart, and she sort of went to do Patagonia race and got healing, if I can say, of your personal loss.
yeah.
Maybe if you can share a little bit with our viewers at home about this movie, about this film. Like I said, I've watched it myself. I bawled my eyes out. I'm very honest about it. It touched my heart in many, many ways. And it's really very beautifully done. And I think I told you before, and Scott, if you are listening, all credit to you. It's really a fantastic put together film where I think you capture the journey of the healing process, but also really capture it with the true love of adventure racing and how hard it is. I mean, there are incredible scenes in that movie. I mean, really, just the one where you guys are sleeping there in the wind blowing you off the mountain. I mean, that's super awesome. But anyway, before I go on forever about your incredible movie, please tell our friends at home, the story behind the story.
Yeah, we were really fortunate to have met Scott, and Scott is a former adventure racer. He's done a bunch of adventure racing before he kind of got into the filming side. So he's an incredibly capable athlete, and we, basically wanted to take a team with us, a media team with us to Patagonia, since it was, I think, the fifth or sixth time we'd done the race. And there was a lot of things that kind of almost took us, especially my wife and I as a partnership, took us out of racing. I had a hip that failed and had to get a hip replacement, and didn't know if I'd ever get to be racing again. And then starting a family, and I won't give away too much, but there were a number of things, and significant things that basically nearly took us out of the sport altogether. And we made a decision to just try this race again. And we gave Scott and the media team basically all access, and said that we weren't going to hold anything back, that they could edit stuff however they wanted and tell whatever story that came out of it. And Scott did a pretty remarkable job. And some of the footage Heidi's talking about, huge credit to Scott, is he followed us and embedded with our team on probably one of the toughest treks that has ever happened in adventure racing history. And I don't say that lightly. It was 90 hours. The team Vitorade was there, who's a top, number one ranked in the world for several years. And, they'll tell you, Barbara will tell you, like, she'd never been on a trek like that. And it was raw and wild. And, this guy was with us. And it was pretty amazing. We stopped paying attention to him, obviously, because we're just trying to survive and race. And what he was able to capture from the inside is, it's not always pleasant for us to watch, but it's real.
No.
So especially if you've got time right now and are looking to get re-inspired, and it was important for my wife and I to share the story, behind why we race and how she has used it to kind of heal some pretty extreme grief. So to kind of create that as part of our story and sharing with Spirit. So
really, yeah, please, everybody go and watch it. We'll share it again on the ARWS Series page. It is beautifully done, respectfully done. It gives you true insight of the stuff that goes on in a race, which we struggle to capture. As you said, now you're a race director and you start seeing the other side of putting a race together, and you've got this side, you go into completely different, and we'll get to that part now where I would like to ask you, the differences. But what happened in this movie is they really captured it, and you can see it's one man following you guys, and like I said, there's incredible, beautiful scenery there, footage where the team is helping eating food, like a simple thing like that. It is so beautiful, and how cold it is. And it's so harsh. I mean, Patagonia is like definitely, it's one of the hardest races in the world. And that I can see that leg specifically and all the elements. I mean, just the element of how long you take to put your tent up. I mean, that's wonderful. So guys, if you got intrigued by what we are saying now, do yourself a favor, go and sit and watch the movie and the detail into it. Because if you're an adventure racer at heart, you'll identify with every single element in that movie. So well done to you guys, and sharing making something beautiful out of something very sad, and sharing it with all of us, and get us to be a little bit closer to sort of real life stuff. Very well done. Yeah. Jason, on another note, like you said, you've been racing forever. And then you decided to start dipping your toes into to be a race director side, and you guys are obviously doing something right in your race in Oregon, and start building up something great in America. What do you find, like from racing going to the other side? What do you find? I mean, this is only going to be your third race. You've done your demonstration race. You've done a race last year. You're going to go. So you start going into these events now. What is the biggest challenge for you at this moment?
My biggest challenge currently is that I'm divided. I am still a very active racer and very much love racing and training, and have put on probably 30 or 40 smaller events up to 36 hours, which I had a pretty good understanding of how to do and how to support network. And then putting on an expedition is a whole lot more. And I think my biggest struggle as a race director is when I'm planning and creating a course and designing things. I'm really excited. I love to basically try every time to build, for lack of a better way to say it, the perfect race, like the perfect race from my standpoint. Yeah. Like what would be the most exciting race for me as a racer to walk into and race.
Yeah.
And then I design as close as that as I can. And then I worry the entire time, not that people aren't going to like it, that they're going to disappear or like it's just crazy. I'm like, why aren't they at the transition area yet? Like we tested that and it only took us 10 hours. And you forget that we were fresh, it was daytime, we'd eaten breakfast, and you do this over and over again. And by the time you get halfway through the race, oh my God, I can't sleep. It's, I'm going back and forth. I don't know. I almost need more recovery after putting on a race than I do racing, which is something that I wasn't expecting. But that's, I think for me, the difficult part is just like balancing the wanting to race. But the great thing is putting on a race, if you're designing the course, is also pretty amazing adventure race training. Yeah. Right. Like I take my teammates out and I give our Daniel, who's our backup navigator, the map after I've designed it, and I just follow him. right? And if he gets lost, I know that it's going to be more difficult. So it's kind of fun to do.
Yeah. If you can get the time to, like you say, you should do every leg. And even if you're not doing it continuous like in a race, but you actually can feel, it's very important to feel the race. And when the teams are actually doing the race and you're asking them, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? It's like, because you've done it, you know exactly where they should go. And
Yeah.
you're like you say, why are they doing that? I mean, so it is super awesome that you have the ability to, you know, like do both sections and get closer to the event, because you get so, like you say, the perfect race, you get actually so emotionally attached to the race.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if you feel the same, and it is like you love it and you think it's the best. And I think that is why it's so hard for a race director to handle the blows if things don't work out always, or there are problems.
Yeah.
And you're also, like you said, tired and sleep deprived, because it's not that you actually can go and sleep.
No.
Race time.
No. Right. There's always something I feel like I can be doing to make the race better while it's running. And my team, you know, my team is the same way. I'm super thankful to be part of the World Series and to have a more robust like referee system and you know, and rule system, just because that backdrop allows me, you know, I have to learn to take it, but allows me a little bit more freedom to pull myself out of, like what you said, those difficult decisions when there is conflict or rules that were, you know, not clear or differently interpreted. And you know, I believe in that as a racer too. Like I've been on both sides of tough referee calls, and it is nice, you know, back in the day, it used to be just whether the race director liked you or not. Like there were definitely moments where, you know, that it was like a business call. The race director, this team did more of the races, so they called on that side. And so I think it's really important to be part of a, you know, this infrastructure that has been created to really make this crazy non-linear sport where every race is different, at least have some standards. So I'm really excited about that moving forward.
Okay, now that is awesome. So before, I think we tell our viewers at home, before we tell them exactly about what they can expect of your next race, I think just quickly tell us about your family. How many children, and also what are you doing other than organizing or exercising for races?
Yeah, right. I have a wonderful wife who is my main racing partner. We actually did a race on our 4th date. And it was the first race that I ever won. It was just a 6-hour race. But so then I was like, wait a second, maybe I should hang on to this partner. And so that was kind of fun. We now have a 3-year-old named Max and a 10-month-old named Revel. So 2 little boys who are super adventurous, and of course Spirit. And then for a living, we actually teach partner acrobatics, like Cirque du Soleil style stuff. So it's not really compatible with adventure racing, except that it takes a tremendous amount of partnership and communication. So, and all of our team, at least the core people on our team, are acrobats. Like they're all pretty high level acrobats. So not that we're going to be good at it, but if you do watch Eco Challenge, there may be a little show of acrobatics pre and post race. I don't know if they'll put it in there, but and that's been one of our fun things, is that we have a lot of people to choose to race with, and we've raced with other people, but you know, the core of our team and what the name comes from is actually yoga slackers. We teach like people to do yoga on a slack line or a tightrope. So that's where that name comes from. It's so that whole acrobatics theme. And I'll be, you know, like in all honesty, we used it really early. A lot of our early sponsorships as a team came just because we stood out, because we could give them social media posts that were not just gritty racing photos, but also doing crazy acrobatics or highlining over canyons and stuff like that. So it helped.
So next time when I see you at a race, I'm going to make sure you're going to do some performance for me or something.
Yes. It's much better if Chelsea's there, because she is a tremendously talented acrobat. And
Wow.
occasionally when she doesn't race, then I have to do all the flying, which I think is scary. So I'm up in the air on top of Daniel or Steven or somebody. I'm not nearly as graceful in that position, but yeah, it's that is how we make our living, is traveling and teaching internationally and hosting
Well,
acrobatic.
I mean, that is so interesting. So there's something, guys, we didn't know about this top adventure racer. What is this, what he actually does for a living. So you see, that's awesome, interesting. Jason, before I go into your race, just one more question. What is the goal of Team Yoga Slackers? What is your goal in the next year? I know you organize your race, but from racing perspective, what do you want to do next year?
The next year as racers, we're going to be super fired up, just like everybody else. We definitely want to make, we took a couple years off of world championships because the whole team was having kids, the whole core team. Daniel has almost 2-year-old. Steven has a 1.5-year-old. So we all kind of, Mel, our other female on the team, has 2 kids. So like we all just kind of decided, all right, and that's kind of why we haven't been on the circuit for the last 3 years, because we've been racing when we can, but also starting families. So we're pretty fired up to go back to the World Championships, maybe make another appearance at Patagonia. Really, we look for the races that are long and hard and in exciting places that we want to test ourselves. We're kind of, for lack of a better way to say it, we've established ourselves well enough. So we like to try to find the races where we think that it's a little bit of a question mark whether any team will actually finish the whole course, and then to see how well we can, compete against the other top teams.
Perfect.
So
okay, so wonderful from our side, like all the best. You guys must have a super year, and let's see what happens with the future world champs and what you can do to get back into that rankings. So Jason, please tell us more about Oregon. I know it's next year in May, but run us through this event you are so passionate about and are giving so much time and energy into your event. So teams must fly in where?
So teams must fly into Bend, Oregon, the Bend Redmond Airport, and we will bus you, or we will transport you and your equipment to the host city, which is a little western town called Prineville, about 45 minutes away. And they're really excited to have us. And we're basically going to take over the nicest hotel in town, and the local businesses are going to welcome us in. And that will be, I don't want to give away too much because I know people like to scout locations and all that stuff, but that's going to be our host city. It's not going to be where the race starts. But it will be where all the pre-race stuff is. It's really easy access from the airport. Teams can also fly in internationally to a couple bigger airports, and some people will come and rent a van and come down. But it's a really easy location to get to, with 300 days of sunshine a year, perfect springtime temps, and
Beautiful.
The reason we hold the race this year in May is because the rivers will be flowing, the days will be warm, the nights will be cool, and we should have a pretty dry race, fingers crossed. But it's a big course this year. So
Jason, you mentioned other weather, and you know what? It is yourself in Patagonia with races, which is not only the course is extreme, but the weather is extreme. And to make it more accessible for maybe more a beginner or medium or middle kind of pack of team, or a team who wants to race for the first time, those who are listening and want to do it in America, from my side, I always find that it's better to do these races where, like you just said, it should be dry. The sun is shining. The nights are not too cold. So it is always a little bit, it doesn't matter how hard the race is, but if the weather is even worse, it just makes it so much harder. And that is actually a very good positive thing for your race.
Yeah, and the nice thing about Central Oregon is, there's obviously no guarantees, but when we do get bad weather, it tends to be really fierce, but really short. Like and it's amazing. So it can add some epicness to the race when you get a 15-minute hailstorm on top of the mountain ridge, and then it's sunny, right? And so we love going out on days where we can see the thunderheads moving through, because we know for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, we're just going to be like, oh my God, this is amazing and horrible. But then it doesn't last. Like, it's very, very rare that it rains an entire day. We might get 5 or 6 of those days a year here. Most of the time it's, 15, 20 minutes of rain and then sunshine. So yeah, so, it's important for us to, and that's honestly one of the reasons we moved here. I don't mind racing in horrible weather, but it's really hard for me to train in horrible weather. So, we get to put on a race somewhere. Yeah.
I mean, I always say the same. We come from Africa, like we don't have any idea what is really bad weather.
Right.
We always have great weather. It's always sunshine. Even in winter, it's never cold. And then I will follow some of the social media, the teams, in Sweden and all the Canada and all these cold places. I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that how they put in the hours of training. So yeah, good weather is a great thing. So Jason, you are going to bus the teams to some destination, and
Yes.
they're going to start the race. They don't know yet, on foot, on bike, or paddling. So how far is the total course? What is your plan? How many kilometers?
Yeah, it's about 500 kilometers.
Okay. And you are again working on that week frame. So the top teams will take how many hours? 70 to 80?
80 plus probably.
Okay.
The top teams. Yeah.
And you have enough time, so there's enough time for the rest of the teams just to finish the course,
Yeah, you can't like take your time, it's a race. And so yeah, we do expect. Last year it was amazing. We actually had, I think it was the first race I've ever put on where every team finished under their own power. They didn't all finish the full course, but we didn't pull a single team off of the course. They all were able to continue point to point from a remote start and get back to the finish line. And some of the teams, we had a couple of local teams that had never done an adventure race before, and we kind of helped train them up. But it was really exciting to see that last year.
Okay, so that's very important and fantastic that the teams. Are you going to have cutoffs in your race? Are you going to push them a little bit forward, and so they have to make certain times to get on with the course?
Yeah, we will have cutoffs for some of the more technical sections, just because it's hard for us to keep our staff out there for so long.
Yeah.
But we also make it very clear that there are opportunities for teams that are moving slower to self-select a certain section and skip a few points and get back on pace, especially if they want to make ropes or a technical river or a kind of a canyon section. So, usually if teams are smart and paying attention to the timeline, we try to design a course that even slower teams can pay attention themselves and keep racing.
Okay. Jason, I think something else I've mentioned, or what I've picked up from how you feel about a race, and I think we spoke about it earlier. It's very important that each race director or organization's got a certain feel about their race. And most of these things come from what you as an individual do enjoy. And I know now for a fact, obviously you enjoy the climbing or the rope sections. Can teams expect a great roping section again in your race next year?
Yeah, we tend to. I'm not super into putting rope sections just to put rope sections in, but my philosophy on races is they should feel like an expedition. Mm-hmm. And so for instance, last year we had one of the first actual multi-pitch free climbing situations in kind of adventure racing history. But it was to get a checkpoint that was at the top of a tower that there was no way to get to besides climbing for 300 feet. Right. And so it wasn't a situation, and I know every race director is different and we're all trying to put things in, but personally as a race director, I don't really feel the need to have somebody stop at the bottom of a thing, just hike up so that they can rappel down. Right. So we're trying to create routes that the technical aspects make some sense. You know, like if you bike to the top of a cliff and then you have to rappel down with your bike. That was in our first demonstration race, because there's no way to get down to the trails below, you know, without it going all the way around. So, yeah, so we love ropes when it's appropriate. We're not going to put them in if it doesn't, you know, if the course doesn't suit it. We also love to put in technical whitewater, because there's so much of that in Central Oregon, and there's just so much of it. And there's a lot of routes that if I was doing them on an expedition, I would carry a pack raft, because I could save 50 miles of hiking, or, you know, 80K of hiking by floating a river. But, you know, and so we like to use those things when they're appropriate.
Yeah, but it's wonderful if you've got a destination that can fit all those things in. And so definitely in your route, you mentioned some great rope section, if it works out, and also wonderful pack rafting in great rivers. I mean, you don't find that often. I mean, as a race director, it's not always possible. So that's awesome if you can put that into your event.
And the best thing is Bend, Oregon, and the surrounding Central Oregon is one of the best mountain biking destinations in the world for cross-country single-track mountain biking. There is so much remote, like, single track that goes everywhere. So, I mean, obviously there's going to be some fire road and riding, but there will also be big sections of remote, amazing single track riding. And we put that.
Is that single track riding, is those roads all on the map? Because what I normally find that you get these amazing single tracks, but they're never on a map. You need to redraw a whole map to find them, or in America, your map's good enough that you have that privilege.
So one of our staff and teammates and I, like, we use base layers for maps, but when we vet the course, we try to give as much information as possible. So if necessary, we will go and GPS and, you know, do all of this stuff. So we try to put everything on there so that racers can make decisions, and they still get lost. That's the great thing, right? Like, we're not telling them you have to take this single track. And sometimes the single track sucks because there's blowdown, you know, but like if it's on the map, and when we go vet the course, if we're using a map that we've created and it is strangely confusing and not fair, right? We don't want to lay traps for people, right? Unless they're traps that people make. Yeah. So, I mean, sometimes there's just situations where we know that if you're not a good navigator, you're going to fall prey to something, and that's okay. But we're not saying, oh, there's this hidden trail. If you take it, it's better. And we'll put that trail on the map.
Jason, you obviously marked the route already. Around how many PC points did you work out for this race?
I'm not going to tell you that. There are some big sections I will say there are some big sections where it's going to feel a little bit more like a Patagonia, where you're going hours between PCs. There's some amazing micro nav sections. There's probably one of the longest continuous, you know, mild whitewater sections in adventure racing history. I mean, I'm really blessed that we were able to work with the land managers here and actually be invited to put a race on in this pretty amazing backcountry remote area. So it's the race is going to have a lot of a pretty remote feel, but still be possible for us to logistically handle it.
Well, it sounds pretty awesome to me. I mean, like, it seems that everything is in this race, what needs to be in an adventure race. Obviously, with your experience, you give a lot of detail into all the technical aspects and the map. So it really sounds great. And I mean, it's an absolute blessing to have a great event happening in America, and that you guys can put it up. So guys who's listening, I'm sure like Jason convinced you to make that booking on that flight ticket and book it and come and support him and join them with their dream to organize one of the best races in the world. Jason, I think let's do something which is always interesting for me as well. And you know, you always get a lot of people who like to travel on before the race or after the race.
Right.
Just give me something what you can advise to international teams that might want to come in and travel a little bit further. What is all the options, or what is something they can do? What would you recommend them to do?
Right. And we had a number of teams do this last year. If you have the time, come and come early and use the time to ride literally some of the best single track in and around town, to just explore the rivers, explore the mountains, to use that to acclimatize, take your family out. They're super easy trails. It's a really beautiful, high level adventure destination for athletes all over the US that come here to train and play and explore in any discipline. And I would say stay after, and you can do that too, but you're going to be more tired, right? The other world renowned thing for Central Oregon is we have more breweries, like microbreweries, like high end, really nice beer than anywhere else in the US. The people here love to mountain bike and ski and climb, and they also love their beer. So if you like beer, this is a destination on its own to come and visit and sample. So those things go hand in hand, because you can come early, adventure, do the race, and hang out at the breweries, and then go home.
Exactly. Do the race, and when you can't walk after the race anymore, and you just want to sleep the whole day, you can stand up and you can go for a beer and go back to sleep until you recovered.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
Oh, awesome. Jason, one more question. Volunteers. We spoke about it. You obviously got amazing group of local people who's helping you, but Jason mentioned that if there are any international volunteers, especially who had experience before, that will be an added bonus, and it makes it a little bit easier on a race director, for somebody, obviously somebody who had experience with some other race before, to come and assist them and join them, and he said they'll look after you and be kind and nice to you. They're great people.
We definitely welcome volunteers. We like meeting people that are either, we've had racers come and volunteer just because they couldn't get a team together, or I love the lifelong volunteers that just love to travel the world by being involved in the sport. So, and this is really a great and remarkable place. And if you want to, be more in the front country helping us with media, or out there in some of the most scenic places you can imagine, camping and manning, transition area, like we're definitely happy to have you. And we do have some resources to help, that we can, talk to you about, as far as helping you with lodging and all that kind of stuff. So we would love to have volunteers. Just let us know.
Okay, awesome. Jason, before we say goodbye, anything else you would like to add to this conversation? Anything you would like to tell our friends?
I just, I'm so excited. Now we have 10 more months to keep refining the course. I'm just super excited to race and to be a part of this series, and to host any racers that want to come and see what we're about out here, and and see how I translate my passion for racing into putting together the best course I can with my team. So come.
Awesome. That sounds it sounds awesome. I would like to get a flight ticket myself and come and join you guys. Listen to our friends at home, go and check out their website, go and watch the movie with Spirit. And from our World Series side, we just want to really wish you guys all the best with your event. And we know how much passion and energy and love everybody puts into their event. So from our side, we hope that you're going to have an incredible event, and also an incredible adventure racing journey. May all those high dreams of getting on the podiums at all these amazing races, may it come true. And just love from our side.
Yeah, thank you. And right back at you. So I really appreciate the time.
Pleasure. Thanks, Jason.
All right.
So guys, tune into our chat, and we'll see you at Oregon next year in May.
All right. Sounds good. Bye-bye.